Yahweh mean, and does it appear in the Quran?
The word Yahweh is Hebrew, meaning He is, and that is taken to be the name of God. It's not mentioned in this full form in the Bible. In the Bible, only the 4 consonants are mentioned, YHWH, and scholars now fill it out to say that Yahweh is the best pronunciation. Now, according to the Bible, this and only this Yahweh is God. There is no other. And since the Quran speaks about the God of Abraham, the God basically of the Bible, as the only true God, then the Quranic God and the biblical God is the same God. In the Quran, of course, God is referred to as Allah, and that in Arabic is the name of God, and that name of God is used also by Arabic-speaking Christians and Jews. And in fact, in Arabic translations of the Bible, we find the word Allah also used, but not as a translation of Yahweh, as a translation of Elohim.
So the Quran never mentions Yahweh then?
No.
Okay. So this next question is, are Yahweh of the Bible and Allah in the Quran the same God? Which you
I basically answered, but I want to elaborate on that. I don't know how much time we have, but very quick. Yeah, the Quran is very clear that Muslims should say to our Christian and Jewish friends, "Ilahuna wa ilahukum wahid." Our God and your God is one. And the Quran, for example, in Surah 2, verse 163 says, وَإِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ الرَّحْمَنُ الرَّحِيمُ. And your God is one God. There is no God but Him, the Beneficent, the Merciful One. So throughout the Quran is saying there's only one God, and identifies that as the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. For example, in Surah 2 again, the Quran says that were you present when when death came to Jacob, when he said to his sons, "What are you going to worship after me?" And they say, "Na'budu ilahakum wa ilaha abaikum Ibrahim wa Ismail ilahan wahida." We are going to worship your God and the God of your father Abraham and Isaac. It is only one God. So this is the God that the Quran is inviting us always and impelling us to worship. It is the God of the Bible.
16, who say the name is Jehova, 100,000 books from Bar-Ilan University. And bear in mind, of those, approximately 16, and I say approximately, they're not all in the database. Some of them aren't even in the database. I had to find them in other places. But somewhere around that, around 10 of these sources are in the database, which means around 99,990 rabbis in the database don't tell us how to pronounce the name. Meaning this was intended to be a secret, and we were never meant to know this. You and I sitting here, and what we find is, in fact, this was preserved by the rabbis. Maybe not all the rabbis, but we have rabbis who preserve. I want to read one of these sources, and I can't get to all 10 of them. For that, they'll have to go to my website, nehemiahaswell.com.
Good idea.
I'm going to get this in the segment that we have. I'm going to get as many of these as I can. And so one of them is a rabbi in the 14th century named Menachem Tzioni, and he writes a commentary. And in his commentary in Exodus 3:15, which is the verse where God reveals his name, and he's commenting on the words, Zeh Shmi Le'olam, this is my name forever. And this is what he says. He says there's also a secret here received by tradition in the vowels of, this is my name forever. What does that mean? Well, you read it in Hebrew, it's obvious. The word forever is Le'olam. And you can see here, I have a graphic that illustrates this. Le'olam has the same vowels as Yehovah, which are the vowels Shva, Cholam, Kamatz. And this is what it looks like in English. Le'olam, Yehovah. He's telling us the statement, this is my name forever, is itself a hint at the true pronunciation of the name. Now, I have a whole bunch of other sources. I want to end with a rabbi from 1896. He was a rabbi named Jacob Bachrach. And in 1896, he writes a whole bunch of things. I'll read this really quick. He says, if the vowels of the Tetragrammaton were indeed the vowels of Adonai, precision would have required putting a Chat of Patach under the Yud for the Aleph of Adonai. According to the rulings that have come down to us, this is a rabbi, there is no prohibition from the Torah to speak the name the way it is written. However, the custom not to pronounce the name the way it is written is very old. Thus, it is not right to pronounce the name. In other words, he's saying, look, it's not a Torah prohibition, but we're not allowed to do it because we have a custom not to do it. But he's saying, and he ends, there's no prohibition from the Torah. And then he says, there was a time, meaning in history, there was a time, it's a rabbi in 1896 saying this, Michael. There was a time and there shall again be a time when all the peoples, all of them, will call on the name of Yehovah. And Yehovah will be one and his name will be one. That's Zechariah 14:9 again. For this tradition of reading what is not written, Adonai, which that is Lord, will be completely abolished. And then we will all read it the way it is written as Yehovah. Well, Shachak is an acronym for the vowels Shva, Cholam, Kamatz, which are the vowels of the name Yehovah. And I did a thing here where in this graphic you can see the little two dots underneath the Yud. That's called a Shva in Hebrew. And it's funny because I'll talk to this friend of mine who doesn't know Hebrew, and he's studying these things, and he calls it the Shiwa. But no, we call it the Shva. And then the second vowel there is called a Cholam, and the third is a Kamatz. And if you take the first letter of each of those words, and technically in English it's the first two letters of Shiva, but in Hebrew that's one letter, Shin. The names of these vowels form the acronym Shachak, which means heaven. So the rabbi has told you it's the vowels of the word Le'olam, it's the vowels that are represented by the word Shachak, and this is the same rabbi. And then he goes on, he shares some other things.